It began with tension, quiet, sharp, and impossible to ignore. For weeks, fans had noticed something different between Ginny and Jayna. Their interactions were shorter, their smiles a little more strained, their chemistry not as effortless as before. People speculated that something had happened behind the scenes, something private, something neither of them had addressed. And because they said nothing, the silence grew heavier by the day. But no one knew the truth. Not until the moment that changed everything. It happened during a late-night shoot, long after most of the staff had already grown tired and restless. The atmosphere was tense. The schedule was behind. And the scene they were supposed to film required perfect emotional synchronization, a moment of closeness, honesty, and raw connection. But Ginny and Jayna weren't aligned. At least, not at first. In the first take, their timing was off. In the second, their eye contact faltered. In the third, Jayna said her line too quickly. In the fourth, Ginny forgot hers completely. The director grew frustrated, rubbing his forehead as he called for a short break. The room felt thick with a tension that only increased with every quiet glance between them. It wasn't anger, not exactly, just something unresolved. Ginny walked away first, heading into the corner of the studio where she usually paced when she needed to breathe. Jayna stayed in place for a moment, watching her with an expression she tried to hide. But the truth was there, in her eyes, in her posture, in the way her fingers twitched as if resisting the urge to go after her. When she finally decided to follow, she walked slowly, rehearsing the words in her head, trying to form an apology she wasn't sure how to give. Ginny stood with her back to the room, shoulders tight, breathing uneven. She didn't turn when Jayna approached, but she didn't walk away either. Jayna softened her voice. "Are you okay?" Ginny hesitated, long enough for Jayna to know the answer before she said anything. But she finally nodded, even though it wasn't the truth. Jayna stepped closer, carefully, cautiously, as if approaching a fragile moment. She whispered Ginny's name, just once, and that single whisper was enough to break whatever distance was left between them. Ginny's breath caught. Jayna noticed, and something inside her cracked open. She asked again, "What's wrong?" But this time, she didn't ask as a co-star. She asked as someone who cared far more deeply. Ginny turned her head slightly, eyes glossy, voice trembling. She said she didn't want to be the reason everything felt heavy on set. She said the tension wasn't because she didn't care, it was because she cared too much. She didn't want her personal feelings to get in the way of the work. She didn't want to disappoint Jayna. The words hit Jayna like a wave she wasn't prepared for. Quietly, instinctively, she reached out and lightly touched Ginny's arm. That tiny gesture made Ginny exhale shakily, like she had been holding her breath for days. Jayna moved closer. So close that Ginny couldn't pretend anymore. She whispered, "You could never disappoint me." Ginny blinked, stunned by both the softness and the certainty in Jayna's voice. She finally turned fully toward Jayna, and that was when the shift happened. The shift no one expected. The shift the world would soon talk about. Ginny's voice broke as she admitted she'd been overwhelmed. Too much pressure. Too much responsibility. Too many eyes watching her every move. And she hated that she had been unintentionally pushing Jayna away because of it. Jayna didn't hesitate. Not even for a second. She cupped her hands gently around Ginny's, their foreheads almost touching, and said, "You don't have to carry everything alone." And in that moment, the tension that had been silently building for weeks softened into something warm. Something tender. Something real. Neither of them realized that a staff member across the room had paused mid-step, watching in stunned silence. He didn't dare interrupt, not when the air between Ginny and Jayna felt so raw, so fragile, so honest. When they finally walked back toward the set, something had changed, noticeably, undeniably. Their shoulders brushed. Their rhythm synced. Their eyes met with ease. And when the director called for the next take, what happened in front of the camera wasn't acting. It was the release of everything unspoken. The apology they didn't need to say out loud. The comfort they had been unconsciously reaching for. The trust they both thought they had almost lost. The scene flowed effortlessly. Their expressions were soft, full of sincerity. Their connection returned, stronger than before. And in the last moment of the scene, Jayna touched Ginny's cheek in a way that wasn't scripted. The entire crew felt the shift. The director didn't yell cut. He just watched, letting the moment unfold naturally. Ginny didn't pull away. She leaned into the touch, eyes warm, lips trembling just slightly. That single second became the viral moment. One camera caught it. One editor saved it. One upload turned it into the clip everyone couldn't stop watching. Fans replayed it. Analysts slowed it down. Blogs wrote about it. Comment sections exploded with theories. People said they'd never seen chemistry like that. People claimed it felt too real to be acting. People insisted Ginny's expression gave everything away. The internet fell in love with them all over again. And neither Ginny nor Jayna could deny the truth anymore. Not to fans, not to each other, and not to themselves. No one expected the moment between Ginny and Jayna to become the spark that would set the entire internet on fire. It began as just another scene, just another emotional exchange they had rehearsed a dozen times. But something shifted that day. Something slipped out from beneath the surface, something raw, unfiltered, and far too real to be dismissed as acting. When the footage aired, the audience saw it instantly. Jayna's voice cracked in a way that felt personal, not scripted. Ginny stepped closer in a way that wasn't planned, like instinct took over. And when their eyes locked, the world stopped for a second. That clip traveled through every social platform within hours, blowing up faster than anyone expected. While the world replayed the moment on loop, Ginny and Jayna were dealing with the pressure quietly behind closed doors. Jayna tried to brush it off at first, telling herself people were overreacting. But the more she scrolled, the more she saw people dissecting the most intimate seconds of her performance, and anxiety began eating at her. She worried that the attention would shift the focus away from the show, that people would assume things, twist things, turn something simple into noise she wasn't prepared for. And while she tried to hide it, Ginny noticed right away. The next morning, Jayna walked onto set pretending everything was fine. But her voice was softer than usual, and she kept clutching the sleeve of her sweater with nervous fingers. Ginny, who usually teased her in the mornings, didn't say anything playful that day. Instead, she walked up to Jayna and asked gently if she had slept at all. Jayna forced a smile, insisting she was okay, but her eyes gave her away. Ginny stepped closer, lowered her voice, and told her to stay near her for the whole day. Jayna tried to protest, saying she didn't want to drag Ginny into the chaos too, but Ginny shook her head. She told her it wasn't her chaos alone. It was theirs. That one sentence steadied Jayna more than she expected. She didn't realize how much she needed someone to stand beside her until Ginny did it without hesitation. All through rehearsal, Ginny stayed close. She fixed Jayna's mic gently when the staff struggled. She handed her water during breaks without being asked. She even snapped back at a crew member who made a careless joke about the viral moment. No one had ever seen Ginny that protective before, and Jayna felt warmth blooming in her chest, a quiet reassurance that she wasn't facing everything alone. Later in the afternoon, during a particularly emotional scene, Jayna stumbled over her line. She wasn't unfocused, she was overwhelmed. The pressure, the attention, the whispers behind her, it all tightened around her chest. She apologized repeatedly, but Ginny stepped forward and told the director they needed a short break. Then she gently guided Jayna behind the set, away from the eyes watching them. When they were alone, Ginny asked her why she was pushing herself so hard. Jayna finally admitted she was scared of disappointing everyone. Ginny tilted Jayna's chin up with a soft touch and told her that she was doing better than she thought. Her voice was steady, and her presence alone grounded Jayna like nothing else could. That evening, when most of the cast had already gone home, Jayna stayed behind to practice her lines and clear her mind. She didn't expect anyone to be around, but when she pushed open the door to the rehearsal room, she found Ginny sitting on the floor, leaning against the wall with her script in her lap. Jayna paused in surprise. Ginny didn't look up at first. Instead, she simply said she didn't want Jayna to be alone tonight. Jayna walked inside slowly and sat beside her, asking softly if Ginny had really stayed just for her. Ginny finally looked at her and said she stayed because she could see Jayna was carrying too much on her own. The sincerity of it made Jayna's eyes burn. She whispered a quiet thank you, her voice small but full of gratitude. Ginny didn't give her a dramatic response. She didn't need to. Instead, she reached out and slid her hand over Jayna's, their fingers intertwining naturally, almost instinctively. Jayna didn't pull away. She squeezed back, leaning lightly against Ginny's shoulder. The world outside was loud, chaotic, messy, but in that quiet room, everything felt safe. A staff member later said they accidentally walked by the room and saw the two of them sitting close, leaning into each other, talking softly. They didn't hear the words, but they saw the warmth. They saw Jayna smile, really smile, for the first time that day. And they saw Ginny looking at her like she mattered, like she was someone worth protecting. The next morning, fans noticed an immediate change. Ginny arrived early, but instead of walking inside, she stood by the entrance waiting. When Jayna's van pulled up and she stepped out, Ginny's expression softened instantly, her posture relaxing like she'd been waiting specifically for her. Jayna approached shyly, her head slightly lowered, but when she looked up and saw Ginny smile, her entire demeanor warmed. Someone caught the exact moment on camera, and that clip spread like wildfire. Fans said the energy between them looked different, softer, gentler, undeniably closer. The tension that once felt heavy now seemed like an unspoken understanding, something shifting into tenderness. But the real turning point came later that day during a break. Ginny and Jayna were sitting together on a bench behind the set. Jayna leaned her head back, closing her eyes, exhausted from the long morning. Without thinking, Ginny reached over and tucked a loose strand of hair behind Jayna's ear. Jayna opened her eyes slowly, and the moment they shared was quiet but intense. Their eyes held longer than either of them expected, and Jayna's breath caught slightly. She didn't say anything, but Ginny's hand lingered near her cheek for a second longer than it should have. A staff member happened to walk by and saw the moment, and though they pretended not to notice, the image stuck in their mind. During the lunch break, Jayna found Ginny sitting alone, staring down at her meal but not really eating. She asked if Ginny was okay, and Ginny admitted she was worried, not about herself, but about Jayna. She said she didn't like seeing her stressed or torn apart by the attention. Jayna told her gently that she was handling things better now because Ginny was by her side. The honesty of the statement made Ginny look up, her expression softening in a way Jayna rarely saw. Ginny whispered that she would stay beside her as long as Jayna wanted her to. Things took an even deeper turn that evening. They had to film another emotional scene together, one that required a vulnerable exchange of lines and a lot of eye contact. But when the cameras rolled, something shifted. Their performance went from scripted emotion to something far more genuine. When Ginny delivered her line, her voice wavered slightly, not as acting, but from something real. Jayna felt it. She responded with a softness in her voice that wasn't written in the script. The director didn't call cut immediately. He let them continue, watching as the scene evolved into something more intimate than he expected. When the scene ended, there was a long silence before the director finally said cut. The crew members exchanged glances, all of them sensing that something had changed on screen and off. Ginny and Jayna both avoided each other's eyes at first, overwhelmed by how real the moment had felt. Later, when they stood alone by the monitors, Jayna whispered that what happened in the scene didn't feel like acting. Ginny swallowed hard and said she knew. She felt it too.